thank you for joining me again, and this is my second episode of my new show, Back to Earth, which is a guide to natural and healthy eating and living. I'm going to do another recipe today, which is in honor of my birthday, which was yesterday, so I'm a little bit late. I'm going to be making a chocolate vegan cake, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. It's going to take a little time, but it is easy, and I will help you along the way. You're going to need a mixing bowl, of course. This is my favorite mixing bowl. It's so easy to clean. I love metal. You're going to need a fork. Well, anything to mix it with. You can use a whisk, but I prefer a fork. And, of course, your ingredients. You're going to need 11 ingredients this time, not including the frosting, which I will get into later. First, you're going to need 1 1/2 cup of white whole wheat all-purpose flour. Again, the whole wheat white flour is still light like white flour, so it's not as heavy and dense as the typical whole wheat flour, but it is less refined. It's not bleached, so it has more nutrients and less refining than the typical white flour you get in most baked goods. So that's 1 1/2 cup of that, 1 cup of sugar, and I use the organic raw sugar, which has that nice brown color to it, and 1/3 of a cup of cocoa. You can also use cacao powder, which is healthier for you, but I can't find it around here, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda, just baking soda. You don't need baking powder for this particular recipe. 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt. Sea salt is fine. Any kind of salt you want to use is fine. 1 cup of warm water. And 1/2 cup of organic, unsweetened applesauce. And 1 tablespoon, I use lids to put some of my ingredients in. This is 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla pure vanilla extract and 1/3 of a cup of almond milk. You can also use soy milk, rice milk, coconut milk. Any type of plant-based milk product will work. You just need 1/3 of a cup of that. And what I like to do to get a good mix is to put all my liquid ingredients, the milk, the water, the vanilla extract, and the vinegar, and get that all mixed up together. It helps the ingredients incorporate better if you mix the wet and the dry ingredients separately and then add them all together. And then in the big mixing bowl, you're going to put your dry ingredients: the flour, the sugar, the baking soda, and the cocoa powder. Leave the butter and the applesauce for now. And you're going to mix those together and get those well incorporated. Alright, now that we've got the dry ingredients mixed up and well incorporated together now, we can add in our liquid ingredients. And now we can make our nice liquid cake mix. Just be careful. Don't slop out of the bowl. Oh, and you're also going to want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. And you're also going to need a baking pan, a cake pan. Actually, it can be any shape. It can be square, it can be circular, but I prefer the circular. It's just tradition. And if you want to make a double layer cake, you can either split the batter in half between 2 pans, or you can make twice as much batter and fill both pans that way. Alright, that looks well mixed. And next I'm going to add the butter. That's about 2 tablespoons. Oh, I forgot to mention the vegan butter. Yes, 2 tablespoons of vegan butter. I use earthbounds. And you want to put in the applesauce last. There's a lot of batter in this bowl, so I'm going to just do a 2-layer cake. And what I do with my pans is that I take a little bit of the vegan butter and I use my hands and I smear it on the inside of the pan. That way your cake won't stick to the pan and rip and tear. And I hate that. You also want to get in the crevices in the edges because that's where cake tends to stick. And it also prevents it from getting that crusty edge that I also hate. Okay. And you pour in the batter, one pan and then the other, and just try to get it about even. So, there you go. And you just stick it in the oven for about 30 to 35 minutes. And after about 30 to 35 minutes, you pull it out, and if you can stick a toothpick in it or a fork and it comes out clean, then most likely it's done. Now, doing the frosting is messy, but it's easy. There are only 5 ingredients, 4 if you want vanilla, 5 if you want chocolate. I'm using 3 cups of confectioner's sugar, otherwise known as powdered sugar. You can find an organic variety. Maybe you can, I can't. And you have, I'm going to start with the cocoa. I'm using 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder. And just kind of mix that up a bit. Now, powdered sugar is hard to work with because it gets everywhere. So just be careful when you're mixing it up. And I'm using 3 tablespoons of the vegan butter. And try to get that mixed in there a little bit. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Use 1 1/2 teaspoon if you're just doing vanilla, and forego the cocoa. And 4 to 5 tablespoons of almond milk. You don't need a lot of liquid in order to get the powdered sugar creamy, so you might want to add just a little bit at a time and get it to the texture you want. And if it gets too liquidy, then add more powdered sugar, and if it's too thick, just add a little bit more almond milk. Alright, that's just about perfect. Yeah, let me show you. Nice and creamy. And if you want it more chocolatey, you can just add more cocoa powder. No problem. And you really can't go wrong with this frosting. There's no hydrogenated oils in there. There's no corn syrup in there. There's nothing that you can't pronounce in there. It's only 4 or 5 ingredients, and you can add or subtract to it as much as you want. Some people forego the butter completely and just do the powdered sugar. And you can adjust it to your tastes, more or less vanilla, more or less chocolate. It's just, it's up to you, and you are in control. And this cake is not my healthiest recipe, but for birthdays and celebrations, you can't go wrong. And you just put this aside, or you put it in the refrigerator, actually, would be better. And when your cake comes out of the oven, you wait for it to cool completely. Otherwise, you're going to have a big gloppy mess, and then you frost your cake. So I will see you in about 20 minutes after I take the cake out of the oven. All right, it's been about 35 minutes, and it's time to take the cake out of the oven. Careful, it's hot. See how nice that looks? It looks like real cake. That's because it is real cake, real chocolate cake, made from scratch. None of that store-bought crap. And it smells good too. And it's nice and firm. It should be nice and firm and bouncy. Yep, there's another one. Nice and perfect. Wonderful. Alright, the cake is cooled, and now I'm going to frost it. We have our frosting, which has been sitting in the fridge, and just stir it up to get it creamy again so you can work with it more easily. The best thing about baking vegan is that you can eat the batter of whatever you're making without worrying about raw eggs and all that. Alright, here we go. And I just use a regular butter knife, but you can use whatever you want. Alright, there we go. There's our cake. I can tell it tastes delicious, but I'm not going to cut it up right now because I'm going to go over to my mother's house and share my birthday celebration with her. So trust me, it's delicious. And I'll confirm that in the comments below my video once I actually get to try it. But the frosting is awesome. Mama. Best frosting ever. Hi, Cynthia. So, there you go. Perfect for birthdays and celebrations, and the kids will love it, and you'll love it. And if, in case you haven't noticed, it's very low in fat. The only fat in there is the butter, and the butter is even optional, so you can use less or none at all. So, thank you very much for watching another edition of Back to Earth, your guide for natural and healthy eating and living. Well, healthy in perspective. And I will see you again next time. Thank you. Bye.